the next employee is Anil, and so let me give the designation as senior developer. So I just give it as a SR developer, that's fine. And so let me give this as ABAP. And Anil Kumar. So Anil Kumar, where is your email ID in this? This one, right? Last one.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this doesn't seem like a Gmail ID, so I'm just giving it as anil@gmail.com. And since it's a senior developer, so let me give this as some 10 lakhs. Okay. And I'm just making this as contract employee, just for a difference. And rating, I'm giving this as 3, and that is also for a difference. And date of joining, so let me give some random date of joining. I think the GUI got stuck. Maybe will it disconnect? Okay, luckily we got it. Fine, so save it. And let me create one more as a last, and that is Babji. I don't know, suddenly it got a little slow. Just wait guys, otherwise I will kill this and we'll open SAP GUI again. Okay, so luckily database record successfully created. So let me create one more record. So 3 records as initial records. 100003 and the name as Babji. And this one I'm making it as team lead. Still as ABAP, that's fine. And Babji's email ID. Babji, which is your email ID?
Upperla Babji. Yeah.
And the salary, team lead, like let's keep 15 lakhs. Nowadays the salaries of the team leads and all are increased. Status permanent and rating I'm giving it as 5. So date of joining, so let's give the date of joining something. Okay, save. Right, so this also got saved. Now if you want to see the entries of this table, so what you can do, go to more and click on contents of the table, contents. So click on the contents and click execute. Now you can see all the 3 records. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, fine. So we have successfully created the table. That is step number 3. So we are going to create more tables in the future. but since we just started, so this is our table as of now. Right. Now, the step number 4 is OData project creation and also implementing the business logic. We created the OData project, but we have not implemented any of the credit queue operations, right? So let's get back to the OData project. Yeah. So to implement the business logic or even to generate the OData service, there should be at least one entity that you need to create. And remember the definition of the entity or entity type. So entity or entity type is nothing but a replica of your backend database table. Since UI5 cannot interact directly with the backend database tables, so that is the reason in the middleware, this OData project contains the data model, and as a part of the data model, these entity types, entity sets, and associations has been kept. Now let us create our first entity. So first of all, go to the edit mode by selecting the project and click on the edit. Now right click on the data model to create our first entity type. To create entity type, you can go to this create option and select entity type also. But this is a little lengthy process. You need to create the fields of the entity, that is the inside the entity type. It's a collection of fields, right? So we need to create field by field, one by one, so which is very time-taking process. But instead, what you can do, since I have my table ready, so I can import by using that DDIC structure. So if you use this particular option, all the fields of your database table will automatically create as a entity fields. So in real time, we will use this particular option. So import DDIC structure. Now you need to give the name for the entity. So I'm giving the name as employee entity. And now give the ABAP structure, that is your table name. So our table name is ZB72_employees. Now click next. Now you can see all the fields of the table has been pulled out and they were shown as the fields of the entity here. Now select whatever the fields that you want to expose to the entity. This is your database table, and these all the fields of your database table. Now out of these database table, whatever the fields that you really require in your SAP UI5 application, those only you can select. It's not like you have some 20 fields, but you need to send all of them to the front end, not required. Whatever the fields that you feel required to the front end, those only you can select. As of now, I'm selecting all of them and click next. Just like your database table, your entity will also needs a primary key. So you need to select the primary key, which is same as your database table, employee ID. Now here, the left-hand side one are your database table field names, and the right-hand side, whatever you can see in this column, these are your entity field names. Entity field names are case sensitive in SAP UI5, whereas normally your ABAP field names are not case sensitive. I can use small letter, capital letter combination in my ABAP coding, but entity field names are case sensitive in SAP UI5 when you are writing the code. Okay. So generally the first letter will be capital and rest of the letters will be small when it comes to the entity field names. This is a generic naming convention, but there is no hard and fast rules. So let me click finish. Now our first entity is already created. So if I open my entity types, I will see my employee entity, and all these are the properties of the entity like this. So since we use the option import from the DDIC structure, that is database table structure, so all the fields got created automatically along with the size, that is the max length. Okay, so all these things happen automatically. But otherwise you need to create field by field. So 9 times you need to click the plus button and you need to create field by field, which is a very, very difficult process. Okay, and you also need to give the max length, all these things you need to do. Okay, now to implement the business logic or to generate the OData service, I told there should be at least one entity created. Yes, one entity is created now. Employee entity is ready. So now we can implement the business logic for the CRUD operations, and we can also generate the OData service. Now this particular business logic for create, update, delete, read, query operations, so these will be written in a separate class. So that particular class is called DPC, Data Provider Class. Data Provider Class. So this class has not yet generated it. This class does not exist yet. So when this particular class will generate, and when this even OData service gets generated, so this is when you come to the OData project, select the project, select your project, and there is a football kind of symbol here. So this symbol indicates generate runtime objects. Now what is generating runtime objects? As a part of the runtime objects, okay, so what are the things that get generated? Generate runtime objects. As a part of the runtime objects, the OData framework will generate DPC, second one MPC classes, okay, base and extension classes, base and extension classes. So similarly, MPC base and extension classes. Base means base class, EXT means extension class, and third one is OData service. So these three things get generated as a part of runtime objects. So if I select this and click on the generate runtime objects, now exactly what happens is it creates the DPC classes and MPC class. Okay, MPC classes, base and extension classes. Now let us see by clicking this button. Select the project and click on generate runtime objects. Continue. You can save that into a package. I'm saving that as a local object. Now we can see the runtime objects generated successfully. The green color, these squares indicates what exactly got generated. So basically, as I mentioned, the DPC base and extension class and MPC base and extension classes gets generated, as well as the OData service also gets generated. So you can see the same here. ZCL means class underscore MPC. So it is ending with MPC, means it's a MPC class. This is MPC extension class. This is DPC class. This is DPC extension class. Okay, and this is OData service. ZB72 underscore EMP underscore SRV. So this is your OData service. Okay, so let me just copy this OData service alone. This is your OData service. So now we need to understand what is DPC, what is MPC, and you already know about OData service. So I no need to give much explanation about the OData service. But let us understand these classes first. DPC stands for Data Provider Class. What is the meaning of DPC? Data Provider Class. So this Data Provider Class, DPC class, will contain methods for each third queue operations on each table, on each database table. Now understanding this is very, very important. So I told you that we need to implement the logic for CRUD queue operations, right? Each database table, if you take employee table, on the employee table, what are the possible operations? I can create a record, I can update the record, I can delete the record, I can read the record, I can query the records. Now let us take, there is another table like project table. Don't you have all these 5 operations on the project table? Yes, we have. Correct? So for the project table also, I can create the record, I can update the record, I can delete the record, read the record, query the records. So like this, for every table, 5 set of operations will be there. Now to where you will implement the logic for this create operation, update operation, delete operation, read operation, query operation, where do you write the logic? And that place is inside the DPC class. It creates the methods, and these methods are corresponding to the CRUD queue operations on each table. Now to understand more clearly, I will open the DPC extension class and I will show you the methods. Then you will clearly understand why this name DPC stands for Data Provider Class. The Data Provider class deals with the data. Okay, data and data manipulations. Okay, nothing but CRUD queue operations. Now let me go to the OData project. And I'm taking you to the Data Provider class. So by the way, there is a base class and extension class. As per the SAP's coding guidelines, you should not touch the DPC base class. You need to write the code only in the DPC extension class. Okay, so now I am opening the Data Provider class DPC extension class. So how to open the DPC extension class? You can go to this runtime objects or runtime artifacts, anything you can call it as, and go to this DPC. This is DPC. This is DPC extension class, ext. Okay, so right click on this, click on go to ABAP workbench. So now you can see the this is nothing but our class jetcl underscore b72 underscore emp underscore DPC extension class. Now this class has opened and the methods tab is already open here. So here you can't see any methods because you need to uncheck this checkbox. There is some filter on. So deselect this, then you can see all of them. This is DPC extension class. One second. DPC generated, so DPC extension class generated successfully. Once again. Right. So there is a scroll bar issue previously. So I just went back and came to the screen again. Now this is what I just wanted to show you. Inside this class, in the methods tab, you can see 5 methods got created and each method is corresponding to the CRUD queue operations. So let me copy each method. So the DPC extension class has created a method with the name EntitySet underscore create underscore entity, and this method is dedicated to write the logic for the create operation to create a record in the employee table only. Okay, so this is for the create operation. So similarly, if you observe, there is a separate method for each operation. So this is for delete operation. That means you can write the logic to delete an employee from the employee table. So this is for update operation. So this is for update operation. And this is for read operation. So there is a difference between read and query operation, which I already mentioned. And this is for, this method is for query operation. Now the difference between the read operation and query operation is, using the read operation you can read only single record, whereas using the query operation we can read multiple records, and we can also pass the filters to this method. Okay, we can also sort this particular data. As of now, we have only one employee entity, and in the backend database table also we have only one table. So our OData framework has created only 5 methods, and all these 5 methods are related to only employee set, means employee entity only. In tomorrow, so for tomorrow, if you create any other extra entity like project entity, then the DPC extension class will create another 5 set of methods like this. Project set underscore create underscore entity, and this particular method is to write the create logic, that is insert logic for the project table. So tomorrow down the line we will create a project table in the backend and a project entity in our OData project, in the OData. So the DPC extension class will create these 5 set of methods for each entity. Remember that this is very, very important, very, very important. Just like it has created 5 methods for employee entity, similarly it creates this 5 set of methods for any other entity that you are going to create down the line. Okay, like this project set underscore create entity. So this method is dedicated for the create logic for project table, and this is for update, and this is for delete. So like this, the logic is very cleanly separated. Okay, so similarly get entity set. I'm not writing them. Right? So that is what is the DPC extension class will do. The DPC extension class generates the methods for each entity. Okay, so all the methods, CRUD queue operations for each table or each entity, anything is same. Okay, so hope you understand about the DPC class. Now coming to the MPC class. So MPC class is basically the full form of this one is Model Provider Class. Model Provider Class, MPC. The MPC class is responsible for structural related things, okay, not data related things, only structural related things. Like, the MPC class automatically creates some necessary or convenient data types for you. That is one thing. And also on top of the data types it has created, if you want any your own data types, you want any deep structures, so all those things you can create inside the MPC. So basically MPC is for structural related things and DPC is for logic, your business logic, your CRUD queue operations. Okay. All right. So that is about the MPC class. So we don't spend much time with the MPC class. Majority we always spend with the DPC class. Okay. So with MPC class also we can do some creation of our own data type and all. But this is if we spend 90% of the time in DPC, only 10 to 5% we spend with the MPC. Right. Now the third one is OData service. So when you generate the OData project, the OData service also gets generated. So this is what I said, the outcome of the OData project is a OData service. Outcome of OData project is a OData service. That also got generated, which is this one. OData service. Which is the OData service? B72 underscore EMP underscore service. So whatever the OData service that got generated, so this is present in your backend system. Okay. Don't forget that the entire OData project is created in the SAP backend system. So when you generate the runtime objects, the moment I generate the runtime objects, OData service also gets generated, but that OData service is still in the backend system. It is still in the backend system. So this OData service need to be deployed into the SAP gateway system. So let us see how to do this. So you need to log into this SAP gateway system in the real time. As of now, my backend system and gateway system both are same. So what I will do, I will just open a new tab. So if your backend system and the SAP gateway system both are same, then you can just open a new window, that is enough. But if these two are separate, then you need to go to this SAP gateway system and log in. That means from the logon pad, you need to go to your SAP gateway system, double click and then log in. So once you log in, you will get this page. So here, basically what exactly we are going to do, we are going to add the OData service that got generated in the SAP backend system. So this OData service, we are going to add it to the SAP gateway system. Why are we adding it to the SAP gateway system? Because from the front end, it can communicate only with the SAP gateway system. It cannot communicate with your backend system. So you need to add this OData service to the SAP gateway system. Okay. So not only that, if you want to give this particular business logic to any other third-party apps as well, so you need to keep your web service always in a separate server. Okay. So this I already given an explanation with the tsrtconline.in. Right? So in tsrtconline.in, they expose the business logic into a web service, and that web service is hosted in a separate server. Okay, we don't give our database server access directly to any of the front-end applications. That is against the rules, and even security-wise also that is not correct, giving direct database system access. All right. So let us see how I can deploy this OData service that got generated in the backend system into the SAP gateway system. You need to go to a T code called /n/iwfnd/main_service. So this is the T code where you need to go. So this is my T code /n/iwfnd main service. You need to go to this T code And here, this is a table where all the OData services that are added already to the SAP gateway system will be available. So our service will not be available here. If you want, you can search. So I'm searching with our service, Control C, Control V. Now you can see no hits found. So to add the service, you need to click this button, Add Service, and System Alias. System Alias is the name of the system in which your OData service is present. So my OData service is present in this SAP backend system. So for this backend system, there will be some system alias which is created by SAP basis team. You need to ask SAP basis team, what is the system alias for this SAP backend system? Okay, and select the same from this F4 help. But as of now, we do not have a separate backend system, separate gateway system, both are same. So in this kind of thing, the system alias will be local always. Give the system alias as local. And your OData service name you need to give, the one that you need to add. So copy the OData service and give it here. Now click on Get Service. The moment you click on Get Service, this backend, from this backend system, this OData service will be pulled out into the gateway system. So click here. Now you can see the OData service is appearing here. Now you want to add this. So click on this and select the package assignment and assigning it as a local. Click on Continue. That's all. Now the OData service is successfully added. So you can see the message. The service was created and its metadata was loaded successfully. So basically this means that the OData service is added successfully, and there is a statement, metadata was loaded successfully. We need to understand what is this metadata was loaded successfully now. Okay, so by the way, let's continue. Now if you go back and search in this table, now you will find this OData service because this is successfully added. Now select the service that you have added. So select the service. This is my OData service name. And there are two options, SAP Gateway Client or Call Browser as of now. So let me open this OData service in the browser. Okay. So click on Call Browser. I'm giving my username and password. Okay. Right. So this is called OData Service Complete URL. Okay. So let me copy that and explain you the OData Service Complete URL. Pay attention, guys. This is very, very important. Previously, I said ZB72_EMP_service. So this is my OData service name. But I'm telling you now, this is complete OData service URL. OData service URL. Okay. When we said about the OData service name, for OData service name, we are just telling only this one, only this much. But when it comes to the OData service URL, I'm telling this entire thing is OData service URL. Okay. Now in this particular URL, what is the exact meaning of this URL? What it contains? Let us see. The OData service URL is nothing but a full and complete address of where this OData service is present. Why this full address is needed? The full address is needed because the front-end application will be running from a browser. From where you run your SAP UI5 application, you will run your UI5 application from the browser. So the browser should know where this OData service is present so that it can make a call to this OData service. To call to call the OData service, the browser definitely should know the complete path of the OData service. Okay, because the browser is running from anywhere, from anyone's laptop's browser, right? So this browser should know the exact place where this OData service is present, and that exact place is nothing but this OData service URL. Okay, I will compare this OData service URL as a address. For example, my address. So where Rizwan is located. So for example, if there is a Amazon courier and all, what we give the address. Now what this address contains? Name, flat number, street number, then area name, and then city, and then country, and then pin code number, right? If you have these details, does not matter from wherever, which part of the world you send a courier, it reaches me, right? So that is what is a URL. That is what is a URL. A URL full form is something like unified resource locator, something is there. So basically its exact meaning is identifying a exact resource in the entire world. Now let us see the different parts of this OData service. So till here, this is domain name. What is this? Domain name. Do you know what is the meaning of the domain name? Domain name is nothing but your server name. Domain name, nothing but it identifies the server in which your OData service is present. So with the indexsd.demo.com:8038, so it identifies the exact system wherever this OData service is present. Now, for example, if I hit facebook.com, if I type amazon.com, does not matter wherever that server is present in the entire world, it will go and identify, it will go and hit to that particular server. It will go and hit that particular server. So similarly, if you hit this particular indexsd.demo.com, does not matter wherever you are present in the world, this will come and hit our server which is present in Amirpet, Hyderabad. So that is what is domain name. And after that you can find /SAP/OPU/SAP. So this is the path inside the server. This is the path, folder path or nodes path where the OData service is present. So this is called the namespace. This is called namespace or folder path, folder hierarchy, namespace. And this is what is your exact OData service name. This is name of your OData service. So this is how it reaches your OData service. Name of OData service. Alright, so is this not an address of your house kind of thing? Yes. Okay. So always remember your application is running from the browser. So while you are calling this OData service, so when you are calling the OData service, you will call the OData service through its complete URL. Okay. So with this URL, your browser is present in some other's laptop. Okay. But it identify that it has to connect to this particular server. Okay. So it reaches the SAP gateway system and it goes inside the SAP gateway system into this path /SAP/OPU/OData/SAP and then your OData service. So this is how it hits the OData service. Okay. Right. Now you understand about the OData service. Now the next thing we need to understand is about metadata of a OData service. Metadata of a OData service. So what is this metadata of a OData service? So basically metadata means data about data. So if you type in Google what is the meaning of metadata, you'll find the answer. Metadata means data about data. So here metadata of OData service means data about your OData service, information about your OData service, information about your OData service. Now let us see what information my OData service is giving to me. So go back to your browser. After the OData service URL, if you type /$metadata, so this /$metadata gives you the metadata, means information about your OData service. So let us see what information I am getting it now. The metadata of a OData service tells about your data model. It tells about your data model. So what are present in your data model? Entity type, entity set, association. As of now, we have not created any association. So it tells about your entity type and entity set. Let us see. The metadata of this OData service is clearly telling you that there is an entity type with the name employee. And this entity type primary key is employee ID. All the fields of this entity are employee ID, name, designation, skill, email, salary, status, rating, date of joining. And this is the max length of each one of them. Okay. So SAP UI5 when communicating, when it is SAP UI5 when it want to send the data, for example, if you take this example here, we are sending employee ID, name, skill. So these three values we are sending to the OData service. So how this SAP UI5 will send these details like employee ID, name, skill to this OData service? So this is through these fields only. So we will be sending to the fields of the entity. We will be sending through the fields of the entity, not to the fields of the database table directly. So employee ID value I will send to this field, employee name value I will send to this field, like that, and so on. So similarly, the corresponding entity set for employee is entity set, employee set. Okay. So employee is the entity or entity type, and entity set is employee set. So the data model, the complete data model is exposed to this OData service. So you can find the complete information in the metadata document. This is called the metadata of a OData service. And I can tell you, this metadata document of a OData service is a Bible for front-end developers. Any front-end developer working in the real time, they open this metadata document in a browser and they work. They never ever delete this particular, close this particular tab. They always keep this metadata document in a browser. Why? Because the front-end developers have no idea what is happening in the back-end. So even they don't need to know also. The front-end developer see the things that are happening in the back-end from the metadata document. The metadata document is kind of a replica. It's kind of a replica of what exactly you are doing in the backend. Okay, so if you want to interact with the backend, now this is your interface. This particular metadata document is your interface. So if you want to send data to employee ID, you send to this. You send to this, and this will send to the backend database table. Okay, so like this, the metadata document act like a interface between the front end SAP UI5 and the backend ABAP. Okay, so always remember that switch example. So if you want to switch on a bulb, you will not directly touch the wires and connect them straight away. You will simply press the switch. That's all. and the power supply connection will automatically happen and the bulb will switch on. So your switch is an interface. Switch is a interface. So you can take this example in any of the real-time object. Even if you take a car, if you want to apply the brake, will you go to the wire and then you pull it? No. You will just, there is an interface given to us, you will press the middle, that one, right? And automatically, so whatever the inner connection is there, so it happens automatically. So this is the interface for SAP UI5 to talk to. UI5 will talk to this interface, and this interface in turn, this is nothing but a replica of your OData project. So it takes to the internal connections to your DPC extension methods like create, update, delete. So for all these methods, it will redirect to. So we'll see in tomorrow's class with our first query operation implementation. Okay, so have a nice